Hey guys, just finished watching Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 5, Episode 3, A Life Spent. Wow, this episode was pretty good. I mean, this show was just really good. The special effects are great, and it's especially in space and all that stuff, and all kinds of stuff happens in all this episodes, and it really is really cool. And I'm glad that it's airing the way it's airing. You know, now that we're getting into a Christmas break and stuff for all the other shows, and it's the only one going on. I like it. I like having me able to focus on only a few shows that are continuing on. I think it's just this and Gifted are continuing through the Christmas break, so it's really nice doing that. Really easier to keep track of all the shows that are still going on and stuff. So instead of having so many shows on at the same time. But here, I want to talk about a few notes here to talk about. So just the first part is just, again, Gemma can't hearing her. We got a lot of Gemma in this part. Still no Fitz or anything like that. That's disappointing though. But we did get to hear, like, Gemma can only hear when she's spoken to or when it's turned off and all that stuff. That was really cool with that. Seeing Gemma with that, and Gemma and that little girl, as they were hanging out and doing different stuff, and Gemma was helping training the Inhuman girl and stuff. I don't think she got a name or anything. Did they have it here on IMDb? Abby. No, I don't think they have any names for her. Here's okay. Nope, no name on IMDb. And it was really cool seeing that, and then also that rock that they went out to, that was it May, Mac, and Coulson went out to, with that other guy who got framed at the end on the rock that was 616. That was pretty cool. I wonder if what that means it's just a number that they chose, or if there's a reason why it's called 616. Is it because it's part of the Earth and stuff? So it's really going to be fun to see where things go with all that. And then we had that cool shot of Yo-Yo running. You know, Yo-Yo running was really cool, seeing that slow-mo stuff. And so just getting back to the 616, I think it could be cool to see what that means for the Earth, and I can't wait to see how this show with time travel, and obviously they're in the future and all that stuff, and what's going on with all that, how that affects when it comes to 100th episode, and how that affects to coming to the Infinity War crossover when it comes to in May and stuff. So that's going to be a bit of a while down and all that stuff, but it's going to be interesting to see how that ties in, and how that has anything to do with the set photos we've been seeing. You know, all the maybe possibility of time travel or things like that. Who knows? It looks like there's time travel, but it also could just be the barf thing from Civil War that Tony's playing with. So who knows what that is, or that all could be stuff saved for next season during Avengers Part 4. So it's really going to be fun to see how things all connect and all that stuff, and that rock and I think it's going to be cool. And also getting back to Yo-Yo running. Yo-Yo running was really cool. Love to seeing that and seeing the different versions of her. It really reminds me of like the Flash comics, how, you know, you would see different versions of him bouncing all around, or the comic books when, you know, any character, Spider-Man, Flash, anyone who's going real fast and stuff, you see the different versions of him. I really like that with Yo-Yo, and seeing her get back in time. That was really cool with that. And then Virgil's hidden radio. Turns out he's been talking to people on Earth or something like that. But then at the end of the episode, they put that guy send the guy to Earth, and he just gets eaten up by the creatures that are left on Earth. So where was that radio coming from? Where are they getting transmissions from? And I guess they don't have a way to talk back. They can only hear. But then again, it sounds like, you know, because Coulson and on them, they never tried to talk into it, but yet the people on the other end know who Virgil is. So has Virgil met these people? Has Virgil only ever been talking about on the radio? And how did he talk on the radio if Coulson wasn't able to talk on the radio, type of thing? I don't know. They never explained whether or not, there's no way of talking on this. They never said that, so we never really know, like, is the mic broken on that? Is there no mic? Whatever. It would be nice to have known that. And then we got the Inhuman girl during the fighting the death match and beating the guy by stabbing him and stuff. So that's going to be cool to see her. Hopefully we see more of her, or just a little bit of her, because she doesn't know how to control her powers. So just because this time she learned how to control it doesn't mean that next time she might just get, she didn't know how to know. Next time she has to do something, she might go, I didn't know how to use my powers, and then boom, not do it. You know, who knows who, like, she was sold and stuff like that. But then now her new owner. What is she going to use her for? And if she's going to use her for menial labor, then maybe she doesn't have, in that moment, she won't have fear empowering her and helping her, motivating her to use her powers and stuff like that. So I can't wait to see how that works. Even just a one-liner, oh yeah, she couldn't use her powers when on command, so we killed her type thing. We just threw her off, and I think that it's going to be cool to see that, and then to see that effect on Simmons and stuff like that, and then seeing Simmons doing this more often, and this time this girl won and all that stuff, but next Inhuman she has to help type thing might not survive, and that's just a thing. And I think that could be a cool way to kind of break Simmons and stuff like that emotionally, and I think that could really doing that, different kids, different people, and all that stuff, with all these different powers and stuff. So I think that could be really fun to see that. So hopefully they don't, every episode we get an Inhuman like this, they don't all survive, and then we can have them, sometimes they survive, sometimes they don't survive, and it just kind of keeps breaking Simmons, and I could see that it could be fun there. And also it was cool with Daisy and the two Krees in the elevator. That was a cool fight the way they did, and then she just blasted them through there. That was kind of cool there. And then we get Yo-Yo planting the gun on the guy, who then gets thrown onto Earth and stuff like that for betraying everyone type of thing. That was really cool seeing that. And if you did, I noticed it just as they cut to her, she was like blurred and like she's a little bit type of thing, and that was really cool to do that. That was really interesting if you caught that type of thing. If not, she just planted it on him. I think that was really cool there. They didn't have to show you it. They didn't have to do this. They just put it in the background, and it was just enough to catch your attention, and it was cool. So I love the way they did that for the second time, since we already had one run scene, and realized those run scenes are really long to shoot, because the slow-mo scenes are extremely long to shoot. Because if I'm not mistaken, what's his face, who plays the speedster there, Wanda. I can't think of his name, Speedster from the X-Men movies. Whenever they do those slow-mo scenes, they really take a long time to film, and the guy spends more time on set than anyone else, even though he has way less screen time actually in the film. So I think that's going to be cool. So I understand that it was cool the way they did it the second time, just to do it after although we got the full-on running with her at her speed in that scene earlier on. So I think that was cool there. Then we got Deke, who outed Daisy to the Kree, to Cassius, I think is his name, the Kree leader, and stuff. That was really cool to see that. So it's going to be cool to see where things go with this, and how things continue on, and maybe does she get, obviously it looks like from the trailers from next week's episode, she's going to be, sold and stuff, or put up for a fight, and that's going to be cool to see, what's going to happen with that, and how it is she's going to get out and all that stuff. And also I'd be curious to see if, for Daisy, does her powers, do they work in space? If she's floating around like Star-Lord was at the beginning of the first episode, or Star-Lord was like Deke was at the beginning of the first episode, when we first saw him come in with his mask just floating around, kind of like Star-Lord did in the beginning of the first movie, when he goes out and he flies out to get Gamora, or he just flies out to come back into the ship after he's getting his Walkman and the orb and stuff. I think that was really cool to see that, and I think it would be cool to see her, if she's just floating in space with just a mask on, how her powers work, in zero gravity. Or if she's in a room with the zero gravity turned on, how does her powers work? Does it allow her to fly, I guess, propel herself in zero gravity? I imagine if she's just in a building, in a room that has the artificial gravity turned off, then she could. But if she's just out loose in space type thing, like if they eject her type thing, could she blast her way back into a building and type of thing? Could she float her way around if she was left with just an oxygen tank to just float out there until it ran out type of thing? Could she float around? That could be a cool thing to see that too. And yeah, so I really think it could be really fun to see that and see where things go with all this, and really see how things continue on with that and Daisy. And then at the end, it was really cool. We finally got the scene, it was the third episode. We got the scene from of Phil just opening up the thing, going, trying to get back to work, Phil, that we got to see from the end of last season and stuff. So that was really cool seeing that. So we just got the opposite version. We saw Phil, his face instead of just the back of him type thing. So that was really cool seeing that there. And all in all, it was a really good, really interesting episode. Definitely can't wait to see where things continue on with this. See who's on Earth and type thing, and what's out there. And see how things continue on from here, and see how things go. I mean, with Deke wants to play the long game, but Daisy doesn't want to. I like that idea, playing that. Who knows if they're going to play the long game in this season? They're going to do all one season's long story, or they're going to do like they do last year and do multiple short story, 3 3 short stories within the season type thing, within the whole season. I think that could be cool. 3 or 4 short seasons and stuff with about like 5 or 6 episodes each type thing. I think that could be really interesting to see that, rather than one full long story, because then you have to have then you end up throwing in a filler episode. But because they're in space like this, nothing is a filler episode. I mean, you could have episodes where nothing happens, but something still has to happen because they're out in outer space type thing. So I think it's really going to be cool to see how things go with that. How long do they spend on Earth type thing, in space, and where is Fitz and all that stuff, which was interesting because I just finished watching a few interviews with the cast for the season 5 and type thing, and most of them all had Sky in it, had what's her face, not Sky, but Chloe Bennett in it, but it also had teamed up. Chloe Bennett was always teamed up for the interviews, was always teamed up with Indy Caster, so who plays Leo Fitz and stuff. So I think that was really interesting seeing that in the interviews, even though we haven't seen them yet. And she was also partnered up with Clark Gregg, Phil Coulson, but most of the time she was partnered up with Ian, and she even said it at one point. He's used to doing his interviews with Elizabeth Hedgeberg, who plays Gemma Simmons and type thing. So I think that was interesting that, is that a hint to what's happening for the interviews, that they're just mixing it up for fun, or is those interviews the fact that they're connected, that Fitz and Daisy are doing the interviews? Could that be something that are hinting at something in the show? So who knows what that means? Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's just me looking into something. They just tried to change it up for fun. But it could be something. We'll have to wait and see. So let me know what you think, guys, about this episode in the comments below. What did you think of it? About season 5, episode 3, A Life Spent. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.
I'm Captain America, here to talk to you about one of the most valuable traits a soldier or student can have.
Subscribing.
Sometimes subscribing is the key to victory. Sometimes it leads to very little, and it seems like it's not worth it. And you wonder why you waited so long for something so disappointing. How many more of these?